Cross country, he was finalist for National Merit Scholarship, and tonight he will be in the show. Oh, you got the National Merit Scholarship, sorry. Got the National Merit Scholarship. And tonight he's going to be in the show. And his speech, you'll find out.
Good morning, students, faculty, class of 2016.
Going to kill you.
Every day, we are surrounded by stories that tell us what our lives should look like. These stories are fed to us by movies, television, magazines, and maybe that one person you kind of stalk on Instagram. These stories tell you what a woman and a man should look like. They tell you what you should value in other people. They tell you what love is, and they show you what a perfectly happy life looks like. The problem is, these stories aren't just false, they're often carefully designed lies. Lies that we're starting to believe. These lies make us unable to accept even our own bodies, and it's easy to see why. Pick up a women's health magazine and you're likely to see someone who is impossibly skinny in a way that is only achieved by exercising for hours and hours every day and barely eating. She likely has extremely feminine features that are exaggerated even more by Photoshop, makeup, and lighting. There are few, if any, movie roles available for women who don't fit within Hollywood's ridiculously narrow concept of attractiveness. After all, models and actresses are professionals, paid to look and act a certain way. But what happens when every image of a woman that you see starts to look essentially the same? It makes real women think they're freaks, when the sad truth is that the people that are truly abnormal are the fraction of 1% that can fit into the tiny box that media calls beauty. The reason why anyone would do this is clear. Your insecurity is a $160 billion per year industry. Makeup alone is worth $18 billion. The weight loss industry in the US, the market alone totaled $64 billion. That's how much we spend to try to achieve an ideal of beauty that's getting farther and farther away. And since 78% of 17-year-old girls are unhappy with their bodies, there are still plenty of people willing to chase that ideal because the media has convinced them that they are not beautiful. This affects men to a lesser degree, but if you pick up a men's health magazine, you still see an equally impossible image. Nearly all male fitness models are on low-dose steroids, and those who aren't have more or less dedicated their lives to weightlifting. There's money to be made preying on males' need to mirror the hyper-masculine ideal put forward by the fitness and entertainment industries. Beachbody LLC, the company that created Insanity and P90X, made $400 million this year alone. Now there's a myth that these people raised up to us as ideals of attractiveness are living fulfilling lives that are so much better than our own, and that if we reach their ideal, we will be happy. In Cameron Russell's inspired TED Talk, she talked about models like herself as the most physically insecure, plainly unhappy people she has ever met, and yet we chase these people's lifestyles in hopes of fulfillment. The media is also constantly giving us problematic portrayals of love, ones that we are willing to pay plenty of money to hear again and again. The Twilight series earned $2.5 billion worldwide, and since I remember lots of you in middle school, I remember how ridiculously obsessed you were with Twilight. Now, does it matter that the relationship between the two lead characters met 9 out of 10 of the Women's Aid warning signs for an abusive relationship?
Oh.
Does it matter that in your early teens you were basically told to value destructive, manipulative, violent, and disrespecting boyfriends? I think it does. It means that on some deep level, millions of girls worldwide were told to embrace that and then did. We're told to value a tiny set of characteristics in our partners, which have little to do with what we actually want and need as human beings. Now, action movies are a great example of this. You have a strong male character leading with a massive ego, who we raise up as a selfless hero. The female lead is usually a victim, a weak person in need of saving. Now, this script is so universal that we don't even question it anymore, but it doesn't work in the real world. Ego in the real world comes from a place of insecurity and vulnerability that is not concerned with the safety and happiness of others. In the real world, finding a stoic, self-centered partner is no guarantee for safety and happiness. If anything, it guarantees the opposite. Men, on the other hand, are told to value having many superficial partners who fit into this impossible idea of beauty. Have sex with lots of attractive people, it's believed, and you will be happy. The problem is that men desire emotional intimacy as much as women. We suffer from the same loneliness and need to be loved, but are told to ignore those feelings because they aren't masculine. The idea that a man should be without self-doubt and insecurity is impossible, and it forces men to disguise their legitimate selves for fear of being publicly ridiculed. This disguise extends into even our closest relationships, where it makes men feel distant and isolated. The stories given to us by Hollywood, by magazines, by ads on TV that are pumped into your head from the second you wake up to the second you go to sleep at night are nothing more than people trying to sell you sex, beauty, love, and happiness. The shameful thing is that if you give them all of your money, and if you believe every word they say, you still won't get any of those things. As a generation, we need to realize that we are being manipulated to resent our bodies and to play characters in our daily lives that have nothing to do with who we are. We're being victimized, and what we need is a revolution in what we value. We can choose to value the things that will give us real happiness, things like kindness, honesty, openness, and compassion. If we abandon the pathetically narrow script that the world gives us, we can find love and happiness. So what I want all of us to do is to take a step back and think about what we care about in ourselves and in the people around us. Ask yourself whether you care about these things deep down inside of you, or whether you were just told to care. Questions?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So you argue that what we can do is to not give these people our money, right? And that can help perhaps prevent the continued distribution of these images. But don't you think these images are so ubiquitous that it is, in a sense, impossible to avoid them? Is there anything else we can do?
Yeah, absolutely. When I say revolution, I don't mean it in the sense that we're going to take down all of the cultural norms that Western society has had for the last 300 years. But what we can do is change the way we think about the current system. One of my favorite quotes from the TED Talk that I referenced was when Cameron Russell showed a picture of herself on the cover of Vogue next to a picture of herself, no makeup, hoodie, hair, just crazy, and talking to what looked like a sub-Saharan African woman with the hugest smile on her face. And she pointed to the picture of herself with the African woman and said, "That's me." And pointed to the picture of herself on the cover of Vogue and said, "That's the work of highly trained professionals trying to basically make an image that isn't real." So I think if all of us are willing to accept that a lot of the people we see in media aren't really real, I think we'll have a lot better opportunity to accept ourselves. Oh, Brian.
If we did take away this like idea of having a good body and being attractive, wouldn't the rates of obesity increase?
Well, I think it's understood that like part of valuing yourself is valuing your body. Hi, Brian. All right, so I think it's kind of given that part of valuing yourself is valuing your own health. So I'm not advocating at all that people should live like ridiculously unhealthy lifestyles and slowly ruin their bodies. What I am advocating for is just abandoning unreasonable ideals.
Good job, Jackson. Okay, everyone come out to The Little Mermaid tonight and